This podcast is not intended to provide any investment advice. The opinions expressed here by either the hosts or guests do not necessarily reflect the views of PSA, Collectors Holdings, or any of their affiliates. Any discussion of collectible values in the past or present is not a guarantee of future performance.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of PSA Pod. I'm Ryan Green, your host here once again with PSA President Ryan Hoge. Ryan, thanks for taking the time today.
Yep. Happy to be here as always.
Yeah, as mentioned, we're having regular appearances from Ryan here on the show throughout the year. A lot of what we talk about involves key PSA customer updates, a good chance for Ryan to speak directly with our customer base and our collecting audience. We do have plenty to get into today. Specifically, some updates from our last episode, which last time you were here was in late January, and that was when we talked about the backup in PSA receiving and some insights there. So we're going to get some updates there, talk about the grading standards language update that was made earlier this year that has caused a little bit of confusion out there, but adding some more clarity to that, plus a new product update this week that we were all pretty excited about. And I'm sure a lot of people out there have already seen, but if not, you're going to want to hear about that. Before anything, though, here in the office, I feel like baseball's in the air.
Oh, for sure. I love it.
We're starting to talk fantasy.
Fantasy leagues are getting set up. I know we got the marketing league and I got the grading team league. They're saying their league's the major leagues.
I was going to say, who do you think is more competitive?
I don't know. Those guys are taking it pretty seriously.
I think the grading team is probably a little more competitive about it.
Just seeing some of the votes, like the things that are getting put out there for voting for rule changes, really obscure stuff. So,
what's the most divisive rule change proposal?
Oh, well, there's an argument about should we keep batting average or just go with on-base percentage? And it's almost split 50-50 between the group.
Our marketing league is OBP.
Yeah.
I prefer, and last year was my first year playing with it, and I loved it.
Oh, see, I'm a batting average guy. Traditionalist.
Maybe I'm saying this because OBP is easier. It's easier to have guys keep your numbers up.
Both leagues, though, I think, what do we have, 14?
Mm-hmm.
So both have 14, so it's going to be pretty deep. So you're going to have to know your prospects.
Yeah, especially, is the grading league a keeper league?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not.
Neither is marketing.
Yeah.
I'm in a keeper league elsewhere.
Yeah.
And, oh boy, is that hit or
way
miss?
Too tough. I don't have time for that anymore.
I'm enjoying my 14th round pick in exchange for Ellie De La Cruz this year because I was smart 2 years ago.
Yeah,
so,
there you go.
There's a lot of strategy there. But on the card side, this is, baseball's our biggest sports category year over year in terms of submissions, cards graded. Ohtani's the king of the category once again right now.
Right.
What about you? What'd you pick up this offseason? Who'd you focus on? Anything really good ahead of the season that you're stoked to have in hand?
Well, since I've gotten to know Bobby Witt Jr. a bit as one of our PSA kind of athlete ambassadors, I wanted to pick up some cool cards of his. I'm partial to the Topps Heritage Chrome Gold refractors.
Awesome.
So I picked up a couple of those, both in PSA 10, one with the 74 Topps design, one with the 75 Topps design. And then I was adding to my 75 Topps mini set. So I kind of rediscovered that one, decided to go after it again in the registry about a year ago. And so I think I'm closing in on maybe 75% complete.
Oh, wow.
And so mostly doing 8s and 9s and graded some raw cards, a really nice raw set that I picked up and had been buying singles on eBay and things like that here and there, but haven't been doing as many pickups, as I normally would. It's been busy, man.
Yeah.
Work is keeping me busy.
It has been a little crazy to start the year.
Yeah. Work and family stuff. It's just, it's a lot. Kids keep me busy too.
It's going to be a fun season though. I think on top of fantasy, obviously we're always talking about cards here in the office.
Yeah. I love though that we've, technically we've got opening day coming up, in like 2 weeks?
Yeah.
With the Japan series, which, timing of that unfortunately couldn't line up with my trip. I'm going to be there the next week. For the grand opening ribbon cutting of our brand new facility there in Tokyo, but would have loved to have double dipped a little bit.
I got to go to the opening series in Japan for work about 6-7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome environment at the Tokyo Dome. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
The new Japan facility, that's really exciting. Obviously doesn't impact our customers here in the U.S.
Right.
Very much, but just for some scope, we're moving into a bigger facility, and what are some of the other benefits of what's going on over there?
Yeah. The biggest thing. So we opened that grading operation in July of 23. It was always a temporary spot we were in. We knew it was short term. It's kind of in the same office park area as our permanent facility. It's maybe, I don't know, a quarter of a mile, down the road. And we had limited capacity as far as what we could serve, as far as people and equipment and product and things like that. And so as that market's grown for us and we've, had more customers come on board, we've grown the team, demand has surged. We started building out about a year ago, the new permanent facility, which is going to triple our capacity. So we'll be able to handle a lot more cards being submitted in that market. It's a, I'll call it a fancier looking facility too. So we're going to host a pretty cool kind of ribbon cutting opening night where we'll have some press and key partners and, hopefully some folks from like Bandai and the Pokemon Company will join us as well. And so it's going to be pretty nice as far as just kind of hosting events. But the biggest thing I'm excited about though is it gives us the capacity to continue to grow in that market and offer additional services.
That's awesome. And you're going to be out there the week after the Tokyo series.
Yeah, the week of the 24th is the kind of the first week there, and we're doing some events. So I'll be flying out, cutting the ribbon, and shaking some hands and saying hi to the team and lots of high fives and congratulating everybody. So it should be fun. I get out there every 6 months or so, it's I really like visiting the city, the country, and our team.
And if you are curious, at PSA Card Japan on both X and Instagram. We'll probably have some looks from the new facility coming in a couple weeks if people are interested in seeing that. So you will be back, though, for opening day.
I will be.
The week after. Yeah. So what are you most excited about card-wise coming up in March and getting into the season?
I hope some of the guys that maybe had down years last year come back in a big way. People I'm thinking of that kind of turned it on near the end of the season last year. Corbin Carroll, Julio Rodriguez.
It's good for the hobby when those guys stay strong.
I hope Mike Trout stays healthy all year. I've seen photos and videos of Mike. Looks like he's in really good shape.
Looks lean.
Yeah. Like he came by here once during the off season to visit. And, he seemed like he was looking good, feeling good. So hopefully he stays healthy all year. Cause I think like a really healthy Mike Trout is awesome for baseball. And we'll see if the Dodgers, pull it out again with the super team that they've got. But kind of fun to see some of the movement with, the players moving around. I think the Red Sox have a retooled team this year. Texas Rangers are healthier. Their pitching's healthier. They're going to have a full year of Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter's back healthy. So a lot of fun storylines to watch.
The Dodgers super team almost feels like an understatement.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. But I went to my first Dodgers game last year, had a blast up there. Yeah. So I'm definitely going to go. I think I'm going to take my wife and kids up there. That's awesome. At least one game this year.
I'm really excited. I mean, obviously, Ohtani cards just stayed hot through the offseason. Yeah. So did Paul Skeens, which has really kind of reshaped the thinking about how people collect pitchers. And he's really done a lot in terms of having hobby impact on that front. I'm really excited to see, last time you were here was right after we graded the debut patch 101.
Yeah.
I got a PSA Dual 10. It's going to auction at Fanatics Collect.
I know it's been on like quite the road show. It was at the Super Bowl. Yep. It was on display there at the Fanatics party. And now it's coming up for auction.
That's going to be super buzzy this month for the hobby. I'm really excited to see how it does.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. I have no idea where it ends, but I'm sure it's going to get a lot of attention, a lot of news stories. So always fun to see that sort of stuff for the hobby.
Well, a lot of attention is a good way to segue. Something we hear about a lot from our customers here to start the year is, some backup that we've had here starting largely in our receiving department. This is something we communicated to customers at the beginning of January about. We were experiencing delays where orders that arrived at PSA were taking a little longer to scan in and get through the receiving process and get started in our research, grading pipeline, et cetera. So fast forward about 2 months later, let's give a very transparent update here of where we are. To start with, what are current receiving timelines looking like for packages coming in to PSA?
Yeah, so we're running about 3 weeks on bulk orders. That's the key thing to keep in mind. It's not, Value Plus and Faster, those services, those packages are getting opened within, 48 hours typically. So those are opened really fast, kind of get in process. It's the bulk orders, which is the highest volume that we see, coming into the building. We get more packages at those service levels. Those are running about 3 weeks to get opened. Sometimes they get logged then at that point. Maybe it's another day or two after that, after it's open, to kind of fully complete the receiving process. Our target range for those is to not exceed 2 weeks. So we're about a week behind where we want to be. When we got real slow and we were communicating this last time, we were at about 4.5 weeks. So we've shaved it down a week and a half, which is great. Not where we want to be, but we're continuing to make progress. But one of the side effects of us, moving faster through receiving is it just pushes more units kind of through the rest of our operation. We have about 8 steps that a card goes through before it, ultimately is finished. And
some move faster than others. Some have more automation integrated than others.
Yep. If it needs to, have the auto looked at, it's a different step or two that goes that way. But it's creating a little bit of slowdown in some of the other stages. We're still doing okay with our estimated turnaround times that we have out there. But I wouldn't be surprised if you maybe see some of the bulk orders push up to the 45 business days once they've been received, or maybe even go a little over, maybe up to 50 days. We're monitoring closely. It's for now, we're feeling pretty good. But the reality is we just saw a surge in demand that started, late 24. A lot of it led by these exciting Pokemon product releases. I think that's driving a lot of the volume for us. That caused us to have to pull forward a bit of our staffing plans, both on the grading team and the rest of the operations team. So what we've done in the receiving area, we've increased our people. Mm-hmm. So we've added more headcount to those departments. We've stood up different, receiving lines so we can get through more packages. We've also fully deployed some different tech solutions that we've been working on for the last few years that really helps automate and speed up the process of capturing those first few images that we call them. We had a more manual process of capturing those by leveraging some of these machines that kind of do stickering and imaging together all in one machine. It allows us to process more with kind of the people running that department, kind of on both sides of that machine. So we're feeling pretty good about our expanded capacity there. And we're pulling forward the overall hiring and growth plan that we had for the year so that we can handle the extra demand that we see coming in. But it's a good signal for the industry that there's so much demand for our services, but we're trying to be smart about things and keep our heads above water and keep plowing through it.
So you mentioned, I think this is a good chance to give some insight here. You talked about how as we pick up things on the receiving end and get it moving faster and more efficiently, it pushes more, I guess you could say, stress on other areas of the operation where we have these other steps, right? And I think that's important for people to understand is that, in receiving, for example, there are a lot of steps we can take with automation, and, like you said, some new tech solutions, but there are some steps where that's, not always possible. And you need to essentially reconfigure how you're just operating things to be able to scale it for more demand. So like when we talk about, the research step or grading, are there any changes happening there that are kind of helping to continue to smooth out the entire line here as we get through this backup?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. For sure. I think like research is the department where we identify what the card is, make sure we get the variant right. If it's a card we've never seen before, they'll do the research necessary to see if it's a card we should recognize, if it's a set we should recognize. But there's a lot of the volume that group sees are cards we've graded multiple times. So it's not the first time. It's a Panini Prism, Victor Wembanyama. Okay. We've seen, tens of thousands of that base card. So that can be pretty easy to identify, but maybe the Mojo versus the white speckle, maybe that variant is a little bit harder. We've been investing a lot in our technology to help make that department more efficient, where we can do the image matching to help identify what those cards are so that the team can process orders faster, ultimately getting to the point where maybe entire orders could be skipped if our tech is good enough to say, hey, we got this. We got the whole order right. These are all known cards. Move it to the next phase, which is the grading room at that point.
Yeah.
And we're doing things with the grading team that we've talked about before where we're leveraging centering tools and counterfeit detection to help make their jobs a little bit easier too, so they can be more efficient and more accurate and how they're doing their work. But yeah, I mean, it just kind of keeps moving through the snake, so to speak. One of our executives here likes to describe it as the pig and the python. You have to digest it, step by step, and it kind of moves through. I mean, it comes in the door when the package gets delivered, then it goes out the door on the other end, where it's either shipping home or shipping to our vault, to the PSA vault. And you've got very discrete steps and departments in between, different quality control checks, and they're all kind of calibrated to output similar numbers together every day. Some are leaning on tech more than others, but there's a lot of orchestration that has to happen. But it all starts though from the grading room. I mean, it's like the grading team's capacity and ability to scale. That's what it really goes from.
And then you touched on the turnaround times, estimated turnaround times piece of this. So on bulk orders, that estimated turnaround time, like you said, 45 business days. I think this is a good opportunity to kind of reinforce the fact that clock starts when a package is quote unquote received, unboxed, imaged, sent to
it's
research.
when the order gets created.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we're seeing a lot of feedback right now, is that instead of a package taking maybe a week to be received from when it arrives, you're looking at more close to 3 weeks. So the clock is starting on those 45 business days after 3 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks later than expected.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, that is kind of how our systems are set up today. We are looking to see if we want to change the methodology on kind of like when the clock starts. It's mostly like tech configuration changes to be able to do that. But yeah, it's important for people to keep that in mind as of today. That's kind of how it's set up. But we're doing our best to stay on top of it, but just encouraging and hoping people have patience with us, especially on those bulk orders, that if it's not going as wicked fast as it was a year ago, because I know a year ago we were way outperforming what we were saying. Yeah. You were seeing things turning around in 15, 20 days, not 45, 50. It ebbs and flows with demand. So when we're super busy like we are right now, things can slow down a little bit.
What does the forecast look like right now for some of these where we're seeing
how's demand
to kind of start
when I look at my Magic 8 Ball, I think we have some really popular product releases coming out both on the sports and the TCG side. I think we're in for a pretty busy 2025. And I think, when you look to the fall on the sports side, Topps is going to start making fully licensed basketball cards in October. So, I mean, I don't know. I think we're in for a period of a lot of interest and excitement for the hobby. And so we're scaling to keep up with it.
Well, another topic that has been, discussed quite a bit in the community, and we've heard a lot of feedback on it in the last couple of months, regards some language changes around grading standards on our website. But I think there's a key point or a key word there, not a grading standards change, but a grading standards language change. And that's where I think we're in the process of educating customers on this. So let's dive into this. What were the specific changes to the language that were made?
Yeah, I don't have the text in front of me, but I know exactly, the area that people really keyed in on. So when you see the PSA grading standards published on our website, you can go through each of the different grades, and it talks about characteristics and things that we look for. For PSA 10, the previous language had two ratios as far as centering that were mentioned. There was a 55-45, but then there was a not to exceed 60-40. And that didn't feel right. It was like, okay, well, why are you giving two targets? If it's 60-40, then you should just say 60-40 because it's 50-50 to 60-40. Why would you say 50? So it was a little confusing. We revised the language to remove the 60-40 component, still kept kind of an asterisk on there that said up to it's at greater discretion that if the overall eye appeal of the card is there, they can go outside of that 55-45 range, which is how it's always been. That is no change. And usually you see the eye appeal come into play with the vintage cards, where there's a lot of other factors that you're looking at, where there's, known print issues with certain cards. I'm thinking of Jim Brown rookie card's a classic one where there's snow on the surface. Very hard to find that in a clean surface. Where
Ricky Henderson rookie
Henderson, we've talked about that recently. The 80 tops, always surface issues. If you find one that maybe has the centering off just a smidge, but the surface is so pristine and everything else is there, maybe that warrants that higher grade. That's where that comes into play. And it's at the grader discretion when they're rendering their opinion. I think people interpreted that we kind of changed the rules. We did not. We just clarified that the graders still have some discretion based on the overall eye appeal to go outside of the hard line on the 55-45. But for the vast majority of cards to get a PSA 10, they need to be 55-45 or better on the centering, top, bottom, left, right. So that was it. I know I think looking back on it, we should have more proactively communicated what we were changing and why versus kind of just pushing the update. Lesson learned for us. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify, for folks to hear it directly from me.
And it's worth saying again, you mentioned that this has always been the standard, the 55-45. So our senior graders, our head of grading who have been here for decades, this has always been the standard is 55-45 is the target, correct?
Yes.
And there is some variance allowed outside of that as long as there's no major impact to eye appeal.
Yeah, if all the other characteristics are there in an exceptional way where it really stands out more relative to other cards that are the same. That's where they can go outside of the range. It's always been the case. So nothing changed there.
Clear enough to me.
Yeah, hopefully, but we definitely fumbled the ball as far as rolling this out, and I'm acknowledging that. Yeah.
On a positive note, been a pretty big app update rollout this week. We always love there's always a good feel here when we have a week where a new product rolls out, and a big changes to the PSA app on iOS and Android went live this week. So tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, this is awesome. I've kind of teased at this for the last couple months that big stuff was in the works. This is probably the most exciting customer-facing thing we've done in my 4 years at the company. This app on the surface probably seems like, oh, hey, cool, great, an updated mobile app. But behind the scenes, there is so much hardcore tech that's enabling a lot of these experiences. So the biggest new change with this is we have a whole new way to capture images of cards. And if you've ever had a shoebox that you're looking at of your old childhood collection, you want to know, what is this worth? What do I have? Is it worth grading? Now our app will tell you. You can take a photo of a card. It will tell you what it is. It will tell you the price in different grades. So you can see by PSA 10, 9, 8, and so on and so forth. You can see populations of those. With one tap, you can add it to a submission if you want to decide to send that to grade. We've also continued to enhance the collection management, marketplace, vault, selling capabilities, the PSA offers capability that we rolled out late last year. Yep. Now you can respond to offers and take action on those and see them right in the mobile app. And just overall snappier performance, new look and feel. I've been testing it for a couple months, so it seems like it's been out there for a while for me. But the feedback from the community and customers has been overwhelmingly positive. So if you don't use it, I recommend checking it out. Let us know your feedback if you got things that are missing, things you think we could do better. Team is all ears and always looking to make that product better. But I think it's a game changer for both advanced collectors and new collectors, or folks that are just kind of getting back into the hobby.
What's your favorite feature on there so far?
Honestly, I would never submit when I would submit cards for grading. I would always do it on my browser. I've started doing it in the mobile app now because it's so easy, especially if I've got some newer cards that I maybe don't know the variant. Is that like a pink camo or the what? There's so many variants. It's really good at that.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of fun to just like look up, like if I open, sometimes I like to open like vintage wax, like not even that old, but like, 80s, or even I bought a 66 top cello pack that had a rip in it that I opened, and there were 12 cards, I guess, in there. And I took photos of them all, and I was like, okay, this one looks like it could be an 8 or a 9. Is that worth grading or not? And it helped me kind of weed through, that to decide what to submit and what not to. It just makes it a lot easier to kind of do that research to help inform, like, what's the best thing I should do here? Am I sitting on something that's worth selling, worth grading, whatever.
It's a fun collecting companion overall.
It's great.
You're going to make fun of me because my favorite feature is one of the most minor features we launched, dark mode.
Oh, dark mode's pretty good.
I have dark mode on every app that allows it.
Yeah.
My eyes are so conditioned to it at this point. And the fact that we finally have dark mode made my year.
Well, so I have my phone set up to be light during the day, dark at night. Yeah. So it changes. And so, when I'm using our app at night, I love it dark. It's great. Mm-hmm. No, it's fun. It's fun.
Once again, the latest version of the PSA app is available for iOS and Android. Definitely can't recommend it enough. And like you said, no matter what level of collector you are, super experienced, beginner, just kind of getting into the hobby, this is a great companion to take you along the way.
Yeah, no membership required to use it. All the information's available at your fingertips. So you just have to have a PSA account to sign up for it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, next time we talk, next time we have you in here, we'll be on the verge of the Masters.
Always one of my favorite times of the year.
This sounds really weird. That always feels like the start of summer to me, even though it's like mid-April.
Yeah,
I feel that summer's in the air.
It's getting closer. You got opening day, and then you got the Masters, and then it's coming up.
Yeah, and then I'm craving football.
Oh man, come on, enjoy.
I miss football. I miss football season for 5 months.
So gosh, See, I love it when baseball's back.
I do too, but football's still king for me. Well, Ryan, thank you for taking the time to join us. We'll be back with you again here late March, early April. We're looking forward to it. And thanks to everyone for listening to this episode of the PSA Pod. We'll talk to you next time.